Hey, sports world, it's late night, 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And I've been busy all day, but I wanted to get a podcast in with some good content. We're going to talk a little bit of all sports. We're going to talk about the Jalen Ramsey situation in Miami. Uh, Also, there's some other news. A lot of it's from Pittsburgh. Um, but we'll also talk about some OKC and Indiana Pacers uh, before this night is over. So basically, I want to get started, but I'm going to give a shout out to my sponsor, People of Color Beauty, based in Los Angeles, owned and founded and owned by Jackie Carrington, who lives in Los Angeles. It's a nail polish company with all vibrant colors. Go to People of Color Beauty.com and check out all her products. So let's get started. So basically, uh, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey and some situation where he wants, Miami feels that he's making too much money and he doesn't really want to be there. Um, I'm not sure if he requested the trade, but they're shopping him. But the problem is that he makes a pretty good dollar. Jalen Ramsey's one of the best corners in the league. Um, he's a big time corner. Now he's not as young as he used to be, but he still can get it done. He's just smart, has a big time IQ for that position, and he can lock you up. So um, I'm here in Philadelphia. Wouldn't that be something? But hearing that he may go to Philly, but somebody needs to pick up that contract, and that might be a problem as far as that's concerned. But he is on the market, and people are wondering where he's going to go. But like I said, it looks like Philadelphia. Looks like it may be him. And the only other thing I could see is him possibly staying in Miami. But I don't think either party wants that. I think he wants to leave, and I think Miami wants to get rid of that contract. So because they're doing some house cleaning anyway, you know. And then Kirk Cousins down in Atlanta, he's also in a situation where last year when he came out of Minnesota, he signed a big time deal with a with the Atlanta Falcons as their starter, but they end up pulling one and drafted Penix in the draft. And midway through the year, Cousins wasn't getting it done. He seemed like he was still ailing from that torn Achilles that he suffered uh, in Minnesota the season before, and he was struggling. So basically, they put Penix in, and Penix never gave the job back. And it looks like that's who they're going to roll with. So because people were wondering why did they draft Penix, you at first I thought, well, maybe they're just drafting him because they don't, they'll let Cousins play out his contract and give Penix a time to learn behind Kirk Cousins. But it ended up happening sooner and he's not giving that job up. Kind of like the Wally Pipp story. If you don't know Wally Pipp, look it up. Baseball story. Uh, so you'll see what I'm talking about. But so Penix seems like he's a starter in Atlanta, and they need to shop Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins makes a lot of money. One thing I can say about Kirk Cousins and his agent, his camp, he's he's gotten a lot of great contracts. He was a mid round pick with the Redskins the same year that they took RG3. Ain't that ironic? The same year they took RG3, when he was the Heisman Trophy winner, they took him number one as the number one quarterback in the draft, and then they turned around and drafted Cousins a day later, and Cousins ended up taking his job. He ended up taking RG3's job. RG couldn't stay healthy, and basically that's what that was. So uh, it's a situation where it seems like that's what's going to happen now. But he got a big time contract. So Atlanta signed him for a lot of money, and right now the only job out there, and it's only because that they're not sure. People are not sure, and the national people are saying they're not sure what Pittsburgh's going to do as far as uh, Aaron Rodgers. But from all accounts, from what I'm hearing, back in Pittsburgh, and if you listen to any Pittsburgh podcast that just talk about the Steelers, they know a lot more than the national people because they're in the locker room and they talk to the Roonies and the coaching staff. That's a done deal. Cousins won't be needed in Pittsburgh unless Aaron all of a sudden wakes up and said he's retiring, but he's going to sign. We'll talk about that later, but Kirk Cousins, that's the only partner I can see, or he's going to end up staying in Atlanta, and Atlanta doesn't want to come down off that contract. They don't want to take up most of that contract, so somebody's going to have to give for them to get rid of him, or they're going to pay him to sit. Unless Penix has a sophomore jinx, Cousins is going to be making a bunch of money and just sitting the bench, just waiting as a backup. And that's crazy. I know that Atlanta doesn't really want to do that, so but they don't want to budge as far as the contract. And what they would need to do is make some type of concession of taking up some of that percentage of contract, a lot of it, and whatever team signs them will pay the rest. Kind of like what Russell Wilson did last year when he left Denver and came to Pittsburgh. He signed with Pittsburgh, and the bill was on the Broncos. The Broncos paid his contract for the majority, a large percentage of it, 99.5% of it. Pittsburgh paid the rest. So he made like $1.5 million playing for Pittsburgh last year. And the other $38, $39 million, the Broncos had to pay. So if they do something like that, I can see it happening, but I doubt it. If Aaron Rodgers comes into Pittsburgh like they're hoping he does and signs and doesn't back out of the little backdoor wink wink contract they have in the back door, then I can't see him going after Cousins. And that brings up another thing. So June 1st, basically Mason Howard and Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, and also there's another guy on that roster. He would be the third. He'd be the second string right now, and I'm suppose Howard would be the third string. But Howard was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers this year in the 5th round. Pretty sure it was the 5th or 6th round, and he played for Ohio State, won a national title. He used to play for K-State, transferred from K-State to Ohio State, and ended up winning the national title. He had a lot of pieces, but if you watch some of his film, he looks good. He doesn't have the big arm, but he can read a little bit. He can read the defenses. That's usually half the battle with a quarterback, and he won't have to play a lot. You hear a lot of people talking about, he should be given the starter. No, he's not going to beat Mason out. So Mason Rudolph is a vet. He didn't play well last year in Tennessee, but that was Tennessee. He got Pittsburgh to the playoffs the year before, and then he left and took a deal with the Tennessee Titans, and that was just a cluster. That was a crazy situation down there with him and Levens. So people say, well, he threw 28 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. Yeah, but if you watch a lot of the film, they were tip passes, bobble balls by the receivers, and things of that nature. And quarterbacks get blamed for that. That stat goes against them. So, and Mason knows Pittsburgh. He's been here before. Pittsburgh drafted him, and back when Ben was still playing. So, it'll be a situation. If our running game gets going, he won't have to put the ball up. He's a pocket guy. He can move a little bit, and he's not afraid to throw the ball over the middle, which hurt Russell last year. Throwing that ball across the middle and being able to read the defense and get them out of stuff and get them into stuff. So, because from what I'm hearing, Arthur Smith, the OC for Pittsburgh, him and Russell just weren't seeing eye to eye. Russell refused to pass the ball over the middle, even when there were open guys. He just wouldn't do it. It was like bomb or bust. He would throw the 80-yard bomb and just hope and pray that Pickens or somebody caught it. And that's what it seemed like when you watched the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And he's no longer there now. So he was hoping to come back with Pittsburgh, but with that debacle, they let him walk. And he's in New York now. So, and you got Howard. But the thing about it, with Rodgers. With Rodgers coming in, with Rodgers coming in, you can say that when Rodgers signs, and here go the deal with Rodgers. A lot of people who don't really pay attention to this type of stuff, this is what you got with Aaron Rodgers. When he was with Green Bay, he never liked to practice. He didn't like OTAs. Uh, he's a big proponent of only showing up in July. He's been preaching that since he's been in the league. He doesn't really think that it's needed to be there in May and all that type of stuff. Well, some people will say different. It's team building exercises, things like that. Well, he's hooking up with some of his receivers. He's supposed to be flying them out to San Diego this week, out to California. I'm not sure if it's San Diego, but out to California to work out with the receivers of Pittsburgh. So that's to tell you a lot. People are saying he's not coming to Pittsburgh. That's just talk. He's playing Pittsburgh. He wouldn't be working out with those receivers. And a month or so ago, he had DK Metcalf out there with himself, just DK. And they were running routes and things, and he worked out with Rodgers, and now Rodgers is bringing the rest of the receivers out to do the same thing. So that's one of those situations where, he wouldn't do that if he wouldn't plan on signing. He just doesn't. I can tell you what's going on, and this is my opinion, but it makes an awful lot of sense. Hear me. He doesn't want to be at OTAs. Okay. Basically, voluntary workouts, you don't have to be there. TJ Watt is not there yet either. And then you go around the league, there's a lot of guys missing it during these workouts right now because they're not mandatory. So they're not there. Some of your guys are there. Some of the veterans do come in, but a lot of the veterans, guys like TJ Watt, Aaron Rodgers, if you go to other teams where they got veteran-laden teams with guys that are starting, they're not at those places either. They're not with their teams either. It's usually rookies and backups, guys that need to be there. Okay, so he's been like I said, been a big proponent of not practicing prior to he needs to be there, which at least in July. Okay, so he got under a lot of bad press when he did it to Green Bay. Okay, Green Bay's coaching staff had to answer a lot of questions on where's Aaron Rodgers, where's Aaron at, why is he not here, why is he not showing up, And then when he went to the Jets, same thing. Okay, he was taking trips to Egypt and things of that nature. He doesn't want to be there, but they had him under contract. So in Pittsburgh, as long as he doesn't sign the contract yet, he's not obligated to be there, okay, because he doesn't have a team per se. He doesn't have a team because he didn't sign on the dotted line just as yet. But a lot of people think he'll be at the mandatory stuff, and that's next week. So we'll look and see. We'll see what happens. Now, they're not going to let this go too far. It's already been stated. Pittsburgh's like, hey, they'll either roll with Mason, which is what I think they should do anyway. Bring in another veteran to back Mason up. And then you'll have, bring in a guy who's been in the league already, maybe like a Wentz or somebody like that, to back Mason up. And if Mason goes down, you got a quarterback that's played varsity minutes per se, and you'll be okay. Run the ball, let the chips fall where they may this year, because everybody knows Pittsburgh got all these comp picks next year, 12 of them to be exact, 12 comp picks. They're going to move some of those picks to get up there and get a quarterback. So Lenore's Sellers out of South Carolina, University of South Carolina, check the tape out. That's somebody, I think if he has a big year, he's going to be on a lot of people's radar. Okay. And then you got Arch Manning, but Arch Manning will still be an underclassman. So there's no guarantee that he's going to come out. All right. Because he was a freshman. Now he's a sophomore. So that means he would come out 2 years early. And I don't think he may not do that. Knowing the Manning family, they take their time. So, and unless they think he's going to, if his offensive line doesn't look good, then he might get advised to just go ahead and go. But it's still going to be tough to get him, depending on what type of season he has, because everybody's everybody's enamored by him, you know, and he didn't even start this past year as a freshman. So down in Texas, the other guy did. The guy that went late in the draft for whatever reason. So um, I would roll with Mason. I wouldn't bring in anybody else. I wouldn't even sign Kirk Cousins. I wouldn't do it. You know, you got your running game. You got a good receiver. You got DK. Bring in another receiver. Somebody to bring in DK because they traded Pickens. So, they traded George that to the Dallas Cowboys. So you got to get you a number two. Um, and that brings up another situation. So Pittsburgh lost a tight end, and you'll get where I'm going with this. They lost a tight end today in workouts. He tore his ACL. They had just signed Donald Parham from San Diego, and he was supposed to be a backup tight end this year. Arthur Smith loves the tight end. Pittsburgh utilizes the tight end a lot in their offense. So he was supposed to be that piece for depth. And he tore his ACL, so he's done. He's done for 25. He's not going to be playing this year. So they've been in talks with Jonas Smith out of Miami, Pro Bowler. His names came up, and I think now it's going to really heat up now because of what happened to Parham. So look for that to happen. I can see them signing him pretty soon. You know, I can see it happening. So yeah, that's a shame what happened to Donald Parham, but that's football, man. It's crazy how everything goes, but that's just how it goes, man. It's just how it goes, you know. And then Pittsburgh has they looked at a tackle and they grabbed him, Jedrick Willis. They didn't draft him, but they're looking at signing him for the depth piece. He's a veteran. Um, he also he played for the Cleveland Browns, and he could be on the move to Pittsburgh. So and that'll be a good depth piece. Um, you know, he was a first round pick back in the 2020 draft. So he's not a bum, you know. He's not a bum. Offensive line in Cleveland, usually their offensive line is pretty good. They just, for some reason, I don't know, they just don't win. So it's one of those situations where you have tackles like you have the guy that just came back. He got hurt for Atu playing the right side. They moved Broderick Jones to the left side, and then in the middle with their center Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Big Salamahu playing at the front line. So the Pittsburgh's line is getting better, young but better. Yeah, I can see them. Doing something with Salamahu because he is a vet. He's up there. But this year he'll be fine unless he gets hurt. Then we're gonna have to find somebody quick, and hopefully that person's in the building already. You know, so it's one of those situations. But Jonas Smith, they're looking to maybe sign him, and I think it was hit or miss before, but now I think they will because of what happened to Parham, like I said earlier. So they'll probably get him, and you know. But Aaron Rodgers, man, you know, if he gets to Pittsburgh, it's a 1-year deal. I don't see him going for 2 unless he has a big year, and then I can see Pittsburgh trying to bring him back for another year. But he's almost done. I don't think he's going to play too much longer. So if he plays for Pittsburgh for this year or next year, that'll probably be it. You know, but he's definitely only signed for this year. If he signs, he's only going to sign a 1-year contract. And if y'all remember on the Pat McAfee show, he said he loves football. He'll play for $10 million. We're going to hold you to it, Aaron. You know, 'cause we can use that money elsewhere. You know, so Jonas Smith. So I can see Pittsburgh bringing him in. Pro Bowl tight end with Miami and also with the Falcons. So he's pretty good. He's big, 260. He can block but he's more majority a pass catching tight end. Some people may say, well, we got Freiermuth, but they both can play. Then we got Darnell Washington. Pittsburgh loves, they love tight ends. So, and it makes it easier for quarterbacks too when they have a tight end option or a couple on the field at the same time. So it makes it a lot easier. It's hard to D that up, and then you can run the ball out of it too with them there. So look for that. And then you got Gabe Davis. He was in Pittsburgh today. Well, yesterday. He was in Pittsburgh on Tuesday for a visit. So far he's visited with the Niners, the Giants, and now Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was his third stop. So normally I didn't hear anything about him signing. So who knows? But usually when a guy leaves, it used to be if a guy left your building without signing, you weren't getting him. But nowadays it happens a lot. They'll just take some more visits. Seek some more contracts, and get some money. And but Gabe Davis is pretty good. He's a decent receiver. But Jacksonville has a situation where they just drafted Travis Hunter, and they got some other good receivers. So we'll see what happens. But they got rid of my man from last year who tore his shoulder up, and now he's with Houston. So I can't think of his name right offhand right now, but he was with him last year. So, and they still got some good receivers. So I can see them probably trying to shop Gabe Davis, and that's probably why they're doing it. So, so he's on the move right now. They already released him, so it's not a trade; it's a free agent signing. So we just got to make sure the contract fits him, and he understands that our scheme he'll be involved because he'll be the number 2. It'll be him and DK. DK will be number 1, and Gabe Davis will be number 2. So that sounds good to him, because he's gonna play. And then they still got Robert Woods, who Pittsburgh signed in the offseason, the vet. They got the rookie he's in his second year now, but he's on a national championship team with Michigan, Wilson, Roman Wilson. Really good receiver, speedy, on the smaller side, but not too small. He's around 5'11", but he gets out of his breaks pretty quick. He runs great routes. He has great hands, and he has breakaway speed. But he tore his ACL. He had a severe high ankle injury that he came back from and then re-injured it again. So he didn't play at all last year. It was kind of like with the Calvin Austin situation a couple of years ago. Those who follow Pittsburgh, Calvin Austin blew his knee out in summer workouts and missed his whole rookie season. And now he's back. So it's really his second year playing. He's going into his third, should be his fourth year. So I could see that happening with Roman Wilson too. So our receivers are a lot better than last year. Even though we lost Pickens, it's a lot better than last year. Especially if we sign Gabe Davis. Davis was solid. He's a solid player. So that'll be a good signing if we can get him. He visited with the Niners and the Giants also. And then you have Pittsburgh took a chance on a receiver yesterday. They got an undrafted wide receiver out of Texas who was slated to go in the first round. Had a great combine, had a great season with Texas, with the University of Texas Longhorns, but some off the field stuff. And he didn't even get drafted. And right before the draft came up, he got some legal issues. So he went undrafted. He was in jail. He posted bond, $25,000 bond. He's being accused of sexual assault. So he says he turned himself in early April. He had an outstanding warrant for his arrest. Charged with an assault. He's bail released after $25,000. He has denied all allegations and says he's innocent. So basically, he's a really good player. If we can get him and his legal troubles go away, and we can get him, that's like having a first round draft pick. So now you get rid of Pickens, you sign DK, you bring in Gabe Davis, and you got Isaiah Bond, the guy from Texas. If he can get rid of his legal stuff, he's a big time receiver. Great hands, great speed, got great catch radius. He's just a big time player, and he should have won in the first round. All accounts, you watch his film, you talk to the draft experts, and every team. If he didn't have the legal problems, he would have never been around. He would have went in the first round easy. He would have went first round. So now he's undrafted. He's considered an undrafted free agent because of his legal issues. And Pittsburgh didn't wait. Pittsburgh didn't wait. People were trying to wait until other teams were trying to wait to see what the legal ramification is. Pittsburgh jumped the gun. It's no loss to them. He's an undrafted free agent. So if it gets to the point where he gets suspended by the league, or he goes to jail, he's convicted and goes to jail, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter because you didn't draft him, so you didn't waste a draft pick. You just wasted it. You didn't even waste it. It's an undrafted free agent. That happens with undrafted free agents all the time. So Pittsburgh didn't wait for everybody else. That's how good this guy is, because there was already a host of teams waiting to see what was going on with him, with his legal stuff. So a lot of people were going to take chances on him, but they wanted to see. And he got released, and Pittsburgh offered him a contract immediately, and he accepted. So it's just that. It's just the way that goes, So pay attention to that. Isaiah Bonds, and that just happened. That happened today. So that's a surprise. Nobody's seen that coming, because I sure didn't. And a lot of Pittsburgh's guys that are in the locker room and do podcasts back in Pittsburgh, they haven't talked about Isaiah Bond at all because he was in jail. So, and he was facing legal issues and he didn't get drafted, and nobody's seen Pittsburgh going after him. Nobody. But he basically covers up a bunch of stuff. He covers up the fact that we didn't have a second round pick because we traded for DK Metcalf and we traded Pickens. So, that's what I say. He's a young guy, just fresh out of college. So if he can maintain his behavior and discipline himself and get with the right veterans, he's going to be in this league a long time. And he'll be one of those veterans talking about the stuff that he went through, that he should have never put himself in that situation. Because sometimes it's just you're in the wrong situation and you get blamed for stuff. We don't know. It's alleged that he did this. So we'll see. We'll see. Then Jedrick Willis, I talked about him a little earlier. Offensive tackle from the Browns, 2020 first round pick. Played at Alabama. Played it for the University of the Crimson Tide. Was a highly touted prospect coming out of college, known for his size and power. And he was drafted 10th overall. So if you're offensive lineman, you go 10th overall. Now we're talking about the Browns, and I'm not going to diss them, but I don't know about their scouting department. So, but they had him to the point where he went 10th. They had the 10th pick that year, and they took him. Offensive linemen going the 10th pick in the first round of the draft are usually pretty good. They're usually pretty good players. So, but he tore his MCL, so he's on the shelf too right now. But that's fine because he signed him to a minimum deal, minimum veteran contract. Let him get rested, bring him back next year, and let's rock. So let's see what happens. See what happens, and hopefully he'll get better. And then he'll be able to help us out in 26, unless some sporadic recovery happens and he's able to come in the late season this year. But I don't see that happening. But it was a great pickup. Pittsburgh's thinking about the future. They are. They're already lining it up. So then OKC, all right, OKC. So we got OKC and the Indiana Pacers. And Thibodeau with the Knicks. First time they made the playoffs, the Eastern Conference Finals since the 1990s. I think it was 91, 92, or I can't remember. I know I watched it. And because who'd they play that year? They played against, I think they lost to Houston. They lost to Houston in the finals. And then that one year they lost to Orlando. They lost to Shaq and Penny. Okay. And they fired this dude today. They fired him. You haven't made the Eastern Conference Finals in over 30 years. And the guy that gets you there, fired. Listen, they outplayed their stuff. They outplayed themselves this year. They outshot their 3-point line. They shot from the half court line. They shouldn't have been there. Okay. So they did play well. Brunson, Big Cat, good team, but I had a feeling they weren't going to beat the Pacers. The only people that thought they were going to beat the Pacers was the Knicks fans and Stephen A. Smith. I knew they were going to have trouble with the Pacers, and they did. Because Pacers get up and down. Knicks like to slow it down a little bit, run some offense, and play and D you up. That's how they play. They've been playing like that for years. Kind of like, back in the 90s, they did the same thing. They played the same way. They want to beat you up on the defensive end and outscore you just enough to win the game. And that's what happened this year. But this time they ran into a buzzsaw called the Indiana Pacers and Halliburton. And Halliburton and the rest of his teammates did what they're supposed to do. So you got OKC and you got the Indiana Pacers. So I was blessed enough this year to get to go to the first round game of OKC versus Memphis. I went to game one, and me and my wife, and we went down to Oklahoma City, and straight blowout. I think they beat them by like 30 something, but at one time it was over a 40-point lead. It was crazy in there. That crowd is crazy, And if I can get to go to a playoff game series, if the tickets weren't so high, because they say even up in the peanut heaven, it's going to be $500, $600, $700 for a ticket. So I'll be watching that on TV. But that crowd is crazy. But the Pacers crowd is crazy in Indianapolis, and they both like to get up and down. And then I think as my man SGA, it's his league, man. Y'all can talk all y'all want. Ant-Man's really good. But we seen what OKC did to Minnesota. Okay? OKC got a really good team defensively, and they can score. Definitely can score. And I think the Pacers can score, and they play defense too. So this should be a fun one. This should be a fun one. Thursday night, January 5th, Thursday night, they get it going, and it'll be fun to watch, man. I'm saying 7. I'm saying it's going the whole 7. It's going the whole 7. I think it'll be a 7-game series coming down to the wire back in OKC, right? It'll be tied up 3-3, 3 games apiece, and winner take all. Yeah, I think it'll be winner take all, And if anybody can beat them, it's the Pacers, But I just think OKC is just their year this year. I just think it is. So I could be wrong. I know there's some Pacer fans out there watching, and I like the Pacers. They're good. And the other thing is too, there's 2 small market teams, Indianapolis and Oklahoma City. I wonder how the league likes that, because it's not New York or LA. So, or, Denver's a little bigger than both of them too. Denver's big. So it's 2 small market teams, similar size to Kansas City and Pittsburgh. So, we'll see. We'll see. But you know what? It's getting late here. I promised the missus that I'd be on and off, and I am. It's been a good time getting back to you. I did a podcast over the weekend on financial literacy, and you'll see more of that at least twice a month um, on Sundays. I'll have a guest that talks about how to build your as my last guest called it, Mike Green called it, uh, your your house. Build your house. So um, and then, he was very knowledgeable, man. And it's not just all about sports. Sometimes it's about other stuff too. You know, and you got to understand that when you're playing sports, if you're ever blessed enough to to make it to make it past the college level and get to a league overseas, NBA, the developmental league, where you're making money, where you're actually being paid, you need to take care of your money. You know, so I'm gonna give you a little video to watch, and it's called "The Financial House" that was given to me uh, by Mike Green, and it's only 14 minutes long. Um, Google it, your financial house. So basically, it's a great video, man, and it talks about a lot of stuff that I think a lot of young people should know about. You know, so financial literacy goes along with sports. How many times have you heard the stories of a young athlete signing big time deals and big time contracts and going broke? Remember the series on ESPN, Broke? And they had Andre Rison and Leon Searcy, Antoine Walker, all those guys, man, lost all their money. Bad investments or just blowing money. You know, so uh, it's something you should know. You should know. So if you got some young people, if it's older people like moms and dads watching this right now, and you got some young people that are aspiring, and it don't even have to be about sports. Okay. They just need to know financial literacy is a must, and they need to know it. So we're going to intertwine that, and we're going to talk about that. It's a community-based programming, and we're going to go around with a lot of stuff like medical transplants for organs. I'm going through that right now, where I need a liver and a kidney. I made the list, so I'm grateful for that. And the higher power has looked out for me on that, and I'm still here. But I'm still waiting for my new organs, and I haven't got that call yet. But I'm pretty sure it'll come, and I'm hoping. So, but other than that, uh, please view, like, and subscribe. Pass it on. You know, I usually don't get into caring too much about how many people watch my videos more than I do this for therapy. But, I have it on most of all the social media sites, X, Facebook, Instagram clips, TikTok clips, Facebook, my Facebook Big J page, which is my separate page from my personal Facebook page, uh, and all, of course, YouTube, on my YouTube channel, uh, Big J's media content group. That's my page. So, like I said, and subscribe, and you'll get all the videos and everything coming. So next week, I'll be doing another podcast on financial literacy, and later on this week, the day after the OKC, if there's any big news NFL wise with any team, Chiefs, things like that, because I pay attention to all of it. Um, we'll have it here on All Sports Related. So enjoy your evening, and get some sleep and get up for the morning. I'm at work right now. Yeah. See ya.